We have some super amazing guests. More of them are great than are bad, but oof,
The bad ones are
those
bad.
bad ones recently, I'm just like, I'm tired. I'm tired.
I'm in my 30s. I'm
Is it
old. Too old for this.
exactly? I'm trying to be on the couch at 10 p.m., not out trying to kick you out.
Welcome back, everyone, to Invested and Rested. Today, we're going to talk with Miss Rihanna all about a recent pivot that she had. She recently changed her short-term rentals back to long-term rentals. So I want to talk to her today all about why she did it, what she did, what the numbers were that helped her decide to make this change. I'm curious, so I'm sure you guys are all curious too. So, Rihanna, tell us a little bit about the properties that you have that you are currently short term renting and what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. So, starting off, just a little bit of background on the property is in, gosh, now I don't remember which year it is. I think it was 2019. I just moved in with my then boyfriend. And so I had a single family rental. And then that used to be where I lived, and then another single family rental. So I had two single family houses, was living with my boyfriend, working full time. And we decided that we were looking to do a duplex together. So we were house hunting, and a lot of what we were finding was more in like the $400,000 range, um, which was fine. We were like, okay, I guess that's just what the market is. Then magically, we found two duplexes that were right next to each other. They actually shared a driveway.
Okay.
And so it was like one driveway, one duplex here, one duplex here. So 4 units total. It was on
Okay.
the market for about 30 days. And we were like, this is such a great deal. I feel like everything that we're looking at seems like it's way more.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get this. And it turns out I was qualified for one property and he was qualified for another.
Great.
So we're like, great, we can get 4 units instead of two. Let's do
Yeah.
this. So, not knowing any better, I think I put in an offer at full price, and they paid closing. I'm not totally sure. I don't remember all the exact numbers, but it was somewhere around that. But during the inspection period, we were able to get quite a bit off because all of the mechanicals and everything were at about time to expire or pretty close to it. Some of the windows in the basement were quite a bit older, water heater, AC had R22 in it, meaning that refrigerant is basically outdated. Sometimes you can find people that will still refill it. Otherwise, usually when that goes bad, people recommend that you just replace those. So we were able to get a decent deal. Now looking back, they're not worth, around 300,000 each that we bought them for. I think we bought them at like 260 and 280. One of them had a garage on it. So that's where that price difference
Okay.
came in.
Gotcha. And what do you think they're worth now?
About 500 each.
Oh, wow. Almost
Hey,
doubled. Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome.
So it was a great
So,
place to kind of dig in and do a second mortgage, but for instead of doing a refi, but that's a different story.
gotcha. Okay. We'll go into that another day.
Yeah.
um,
Imagine this. You're surrounded by a small group of women in a beautiful home, eating healthy food, and of course, some chocolate. The women have an entrepreneurial spirit like you. They want to grow, they want to expand their minds, and they want to make their life dreams come true by investing in real estate.
Does this sound like something you might want to do? I know that's where I want to be. And we are in the midst of planning our 2025 retreat. We're only taking a small handful of women. So if it sounds like something you might be interested, head on over to investedandrested.com, get on our email list, and you will be the first to know and have the opportunity to join us next year.
okay. So you bought the two properties. What'd you do next? Did you long term rent them?
Yes. So they were long-term rentals, and that was really the only thing that we knew how to do. Some people
Mhm.
were saying that, oh, you should try Airbnb. And I was thinking, oh, you know what? We've already missed that craze. Maybe if it was earlier, we would have done it. But like the Airbnb boom is totally over, which is just funny to look back on. But we
5 years ago,
inherited
yeah.
tenants. Yeah. So we inherited the tenants, which is always interesting. It's great that you have that instant cash flow and that you don't
Mhm.
necessarily have to do anything besides maybe if there's one-off things here and there that need to be fixed. Um, and then one of the tenants moved out in the fall of 2020, and we were having a hard time finding a quality renter. Think back, this is during COVID. This is when not a lot of people were able to find work, and there was a lot of government grants and stuff that were circulating, and we just could not find decent tenants. We also had a lot of extra furniture since I had recently moved out of my old house. So with not finding great tenants for long-term rentals, having extra furniture. Also, people would ask us why we went Airbnb them because they're really close to the airports. We were like, and Mall of America. So we were like, great, let's just give this a try. It's just one unit. We're going to need to go ahead and do some renovations to get everything up and ready, but we don't have to buy a couch. We don't have to buy a microwave, a TV, a bed, some of that kind of stuff. So it helped
Mhm.
with our upfront costs as well.
Totally.
And it turned out to be great. We were like, we totally hit the beginning of the Airbnb actual boom, I would think. And we didn't have to do anything. You would just put it up on Airbnb. We got some decorations, mostly from Walmart, I want to say. A lot
Great.
also from Marketplace. I'm like
Uh-huh.
total Facebook Marketplace nerd. I find
Yes.
everything on Marketplace. Which, if you aren't
Awesome.
doing it out of state, you have the time to sit and scroll at night. Instead of looking at Instagram, you're looking at, okay, can I find a nightstand today on
Yeah,
Marketplace that's going to match what I want to do?
I would love doing that. Like, I love those type of projects. I want to do that, but yeah, then I have to buy in California, and I don't want to do that. So, okay. So give me some numbers. I want to know how much were you renting one unit out long term, and then when you started Airbnb-ing it, how much were you getting on average each month?
Yeah. So in the beginning, when we didn't do anything, the tenants that we inherited, that was a
Mhm.
2-bedroom, 1 bath. It was renting for maybe like 1,100, 1,200 or so.
Okay.
And then we put it on Airbnb and we were making basically double.
Wow. Oh, how much did your expenses increase?
We had to pay all the utilities. Um, and then you have to buy, toilet paper, paper towels, that kind of thing. Um, that's maybe about $500 a month,
Okay. So you were making about
an extra 500 or so a
five to
month.
700 a month.
Yep. Yep.
Cool. And what did that entail? What kind of extra work did that entail for you as an Airbnb host in general, so people can get a very clear idea of what it's like to be an Airbnb host?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because a lot of people don't realize how much really goes into it and the day-to-day lifestyle of being an Airbnb host because you're always connected to your phone. I'm doing an retreat this weekend or it's a yoga retreat up north, and they're like, we strongly encourage you to have a tech break. And I'm like, wow, that's great. And I would definitely won't be sitting and just scrolling and hanging out on my phone. I do need to make sure that I am connected in because I do self manage. If I had a manager for the weekend, which I could definitely just hire somebody for the weekend to do that. So day to day, I do have automated messages and some great systems in place that help alleviate some questions and some communication. So right away when a guest books, we'll say, hey, here's some things that maybe you would like to know about the property and about your stay. 24 hours before you come, that's when we will send you the address. That's when we're going to send you the code to get in. It's all self check-in with a electronic lock. So we're not like hiding and losing keys and stuff like that. Do have to answer some guest questions. And I do like to make sure that I am available in the event, somebody needs me. Communicating with my cleaner. My cleaner is kind of like the eyes and ears of the property, though you definitely need to make sure that you and your cleaner are on the same page about what should be done and how to do it. Easier said than done. So, she'll let me know if there's something wrong, and sometimes she does some little fixes. So, I'll check in with her too before I leave for the weekend. Other things that aren't necessarily day to day, but you need to keep track of are your pricing. You can get a third party program to track your pricing, and it's like a dynamic pricing tool. Price Labs is one of the biggest ones. So it will help you stay in the algorithm by changing your pricing often and making sure that you're staying competitive. You can choose like a high end or a low end of things. I know there's a little bit of a learning curve on some of that too. I actually do not use one. I just do it manually myself. And I don't change those every day, but that's something I could always look into. I've just chosen not to. Another program that we use is for the cleaners. So instead of manually telling the cleaner, hey, there's a checkout on this day, or here's what your schedule is, we have a third-party app that connects to Airbnb. So it will let the cleaner know when they need to come in to do cleaning. So it's not going to be human error that I forget to tell her that's, oh, somebody checked out or this person canceled or, because before we were using that, there was a couple of human error days where somebody walked in and it wasn't clean yet. And it's so embarrassing.
Oh, no.
And it sucks. It's like, poor guests, they're probably tired. They're ready to rest, put their head down, and the place wasn't clean yet for them.
They don't have any sheets.
Yes.
30 dishes in the sink. Oh God.
Yeah. Like, am I in the right place? What happened here?
Yeah. So it sounds like it's like real estate in general. Nothing takes a lot of time, but you have to be available a lot.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
It's like those 5-minute tasks that just totally eat up your day that you don't think about.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you turned one into an Airbnb and then you saw the benefits of getting more money every month. And then what happened?
Yeah, we were like, this is awesome. We didn't really mind the extra work at first. And to an extent, I don't mind it really right now either. I mean, we definitely have our issues of like interesting guests or people that, really don't respect your property. And we've put some systems in place to help with that. But now we're starting to shift on really where our goals are at. But yeah, so we didn't mind the work at first. We totally lost my train of thought. Give me a second. Where were we going with this?
So you turned all four into
Yes. So the first one was going great. We were like, awesome. Once these leases end, let's go ahead and let's do this for all 4 of them. We're already like, everything is all on site right next to each other. If we can run 1, we can run 4. So we went ahead, we did a little bit remodeling. We did them all one at a time based on when people's leases were up, which was really nice and helped us kind of split up that work. And then refine some of the things like, oh, this flooring, this showed a lot of dirt and it didn't work really well. Or, hey, one thing I guess we've always done is leather couches so that it's easier to clean. And if a guest spills on it and less stains, getting better sheets every time, figuring out what sheets don't cling to hair or show stains, or what's the easiest kind of material that stains will get out of easily too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And okay, so then you had 4 Airbnbs up and running. How long did you do that for?
We still have all 4 up and running right now. We are going to turn those into long-term rentals beginning on September 1st. So we've already leased 2 2-bedrooms. We have 2 3-bedrooms left. So provided that we're able to find great renters, we will turn those all into long terms. If we can't, no problem. We already know what to expect for the winter. We could either choose to do them just for the winter, and then in the spring try to release them for long term, or we could just say, you know what, actually 2 is better than 4. Let's just continue on with this. More than likely, we'll find renters for them and turn everything back into long terms.
Great. And so what changed? Why are you willing to lose the extra cash each month?
Yeah, well, reality set in. People, there was a lot of money that was floating around in 2020 and 2021, and people were so anxious to go ahead and travel. Now there's a little bit more supply for Airbnb. People are traveling a little bit less, and you need to work a lot harder to get people's business. Whereas before, you could just like put an air mattress on Airbnb and people will come. I actually
Yeah.
think that's how Airbnb started. I'm not totally sure, but I think that's how it was. So, like I said, we got a lot of stuff from Walmart for our first rental. That no longer flies. Don't do that. But then we started to up the ante, and our decorations and stuff got better for each one. But now we're kind of at that point where our bookings are slowing down a little bit. Yes, we are still making money, but we just have to work for it, which is fine.
In what
But then we
sense
have
working for it?
so lower our price a little bit more. Some of the competition, their stuff looks a lot nicer. Staying on top of the reviews, making sure you're responding to, I mean, we always respond to people, but we don't always like respond to reviews. Or sometimes a review will say something and you're like, well, I already told you that was the case, but I need to reiterate that. So when people are reading it, for example, the 3rd bedroom and the 3 bedrooms, those are downstairs. People are like, oh, the bedroom is in the basement. I'm like, yep, make sure you are reading the listing so that you know that. Or, oh, they didn't send me the check-in information. And I'm like, hey, it's always in your message right above. Things like that.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
So we just need to update our units a little bit more if we wanted to keep them like that. Because another thing is if your units don't look that great and you're lowering your prices so much compared to the competition, you think, oh, great, then I'm going to make some extra money. Well, you're actually going to probably be attracting not the greatest guests. It might be people that are local that are just looking to have a quick party, or aren't going to be very respectful to your space.
So has that happened?
Oh gosh, too many times. Recently, we were able to put a couple protocols in place to help with that. But working with Airbnb has been another difficult piece. So a situation that happened recently, it really felt like Airbnb didn't have our back on it, and they're not very helpful. It's an awesome company, but they're just growing really fast, and you can feel their growing pains along with it. So we had somebody, again, we're right by the airport. So we get last minute bookings quite often. If somebody's flight gets canceled and they need a place to stay, we're an awesome solution for them. So we had it until maybe like 10 p.m. or so that people could book. We moved that up to like 6, I want to say, knowing that, hey, we might get less bookings, but people that are trying to throw a party, or local teenagers that get a hold of somebody else's information or use their parents' information while they're not looking, are going to be booking those typically a little bit more last minute.
Gotcha.
Airbnb also changed something that you are, I forget, I can't remember exactly what it is. Reach out to me, I guess, and I can look it up if you're really curious on it. But you last minute bookers need to have at least one good review, or it's going to be like a manual situation where you need to go ahead and request. So that's been super helpful. Yeah, because if you have no reviews, you have a local phone number, and you're booking last minute, those are 3 red flags.
Yeah.
Totally. So that happened to us the other day, maybe like a couple months ago. And so I reached out and I said, and I have it in the rules too, that if you're local, you'll be accepted on a case by case basis, but it's really hard to enforce that. And then you have to call Airbnb and whatnot. So I can't remember what they said they were going to be staying for. And then they also said in the message it was going to be for a third party. Oh, I remember what it was. Oh, I booked this for my little brother's prom. And I'm like, absolutely not. Get out of my property. I do not want you there. So right in the message, it said it was for a third party. Per Airbnb's guidelines, you cannot rent for a third party. Mm-hmm. So I contacted Airbnb, and it really just depends on who you're working with there and what kind of answer you're going to get and how fast the service is. So they said, no, I'll transfer you to someone else. Oh, we're going to escalate it, blah, blah, blah. I'll call you back in a few hours. And I'm like, I need to cancel this reservation right now. They have the code and the information to check in. I told them not to check in, but they're probably still going to do it. So then they said, I'm waiting for Airbnb. I'm messaging with the guests. We have cameras there. I can see that they checked in. And they said, no, we never checked in. And I was like, we have cameras. And they're like, okay, we're leaving right now. Oh, we left. No, you didn't. Again, like, we have cameras. I can see if you are there or not. So then we're trying to call other people and get a hold of other guests or other like people at Airbnb. And they're like, oh, you already have a case open. We'll transfer you back to them. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. You're not helping. Like, I need to get these people out now because number one, I don't want whatever damage is going to happen to my property. And number two, this is a duplex. They share a wall with other guests. That's not fair to these other guests that their neighbors are going to be throwing a party. And I'm just letting it happen. So then we called the local police and non-emergency and said, hey, here's the situation. And they said, we need you there in order to have them be removed because this is technically like not something that we're able to do. And I'm like, okay. It's basically 10 p.m. It's a school night. It's like a Wednesday night or something like that. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, this was not in the cards. I'm in my pajamas. I'm showered, ready to go to bed. Yeah. And so we went out there and then we went into the property. Oh, other people were coming, by the way. There's only like 4 people inside the property, but a couple other cars just pulled up. Other people are ready to go in. And we're like,
ready for that prom after party.
Oh, yeah. And it was like totally a school night. You didn't have prom, but like, gotcha. So silly. So weren't the best liars. Get better at lying if you're going to do this stuff.
Yeah, there would be a prom on a Tuesday night.
Yeah. So we went into the property with the police, and then the police had asked them to leave. Everybody left. It was totally fine. Marijuana is technically legal in Minnesota. It's not decriminalized anymore, but like, the plant is not. It was like all over the freaking house. Even downstairs in the basement, I don't know what happened. Maybe they were panicking when somebody knocked on the door and they threw it all over. I don't, it was in the washing machine. It was everywhere. And yeah, so we were able to ask them to leave, but it was like, maybe we shouldn't have gone into the property with the police. Maybe we should have stayed in the car. I don't know if that was even an option. I can't remember. It kind of all just happened so fast. But from a safety perspective, I'm not really interested in being there. We didn't know they're kids. It was fine. But like we don't know what kind of situation that we were walking into. And I also don't want to leave my house at 10 p.m. at night. And what if I wasn't here? Then what would the protocol be? Wait for Airbnb to call me back? And a little bit more to this story. So while I was on the way to the property, we were able to get a hold of Airbnb, talk to somebody else. They canceled it right away. I'm like, thank you. I appreciate it. So much was happening all at once, right? That we actually got another booking for the same night from another party. So the people that were currently occupying it that were not supposed to be there, their stay was canceled. Seconds later, it was rebooked for that night.
Oh my God. Was it the same party or was it somebody totally random?
somebody else. So we finally are like calming down. It's, pretty late at this point. Just get to sleep. Then it's like 2 a.m. and our phones are blowing up. And someone's like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm here for my booking. I'm trying to get into the property. I changed the locks or the
Oh,
code
gotcha.
at the property. Thank goodness. Otherwise, they would have walked in and it wasn't that dirty, but there's marijuana like everywhere.
Yeah.
And we're like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. You actually cannot stay tonight. We will refund all of your money, but please just like go to a hotel or something because the house is not ready for you." And so that situation was really frustrating, like from a safety perspective, having to get up off the couch at 10 p.m. at night to go do that. And then, yes, I could have checked Airbnb and I should have seen that it got rebooked, but it shouldn't have been allowed to get rebooked in that moment as well. And that was a nice person that was probably not trying to throw a party and,
Yeah.
had a flight canceled.
Yeah, something happened.
So though that stuff doesn't happen every day, I've just had too many situations like that where I'm not attracting the best clients that are in the city, right? And I mean, in the city, as far as like, I do have a cabin that is a vacation rental. I do have some stories, but only like 2, and we've been hosting for 2 years.
Okay.
So that's not bad.
Yeah.
I would say that's
Okay.
that's pretty normal. Yeah. Pretty good odds. I'll take it.
That makes sense. Okay. So you're going to keep your vacation rental and there's not big problems there because you're just getting people that are going on vacation. They're not trying to throw a party. Maybe they're throwing a party, but with the people that are staying with them, probably.
Exactly. The people that are coming here to travel, to go to the Mall of America, maybe coming in for a sporting event or for the state fair, for example, it's more of replacing a hotel than it is, "Oh, I'm on vacation. I'm in somebody else's home. I want to treat this place with respect." And that's not always the case, right? We have some super amazing guests. More of them are great than are bad, but oof,
the bad ones are bad.
Those bad ones recently, I'm just like, I'm tired. I'm tired.
I'm in my 30s. I'm old. Too old for this.
Exactly. I'm trying to be on the couch at 10 p.m., not out trying to kick you out.
I'd be asleep. I honestly turned my phone off at like 8:30, so I wouldn't have even known.
Yeah. I'm more of a light owl.
Yeah,
but
you are.
Still don't want to be out.
It works out for our time zone differences.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's why I do it.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't want to do it anymore. And how did you figure out the steps you were going to take to change it over and replace that financial piece, that income that maybe you were relying on?
Honestly, it was really hard to figure out what we really wanted to do and what would be the next best steps for us. We grappled with this quite a while because, we would have a bad guest come in and we're like, "Oh, screw this. I just want to be done." And honestly, my fiance was done a long time ago before I really wanted to like hang up the towel. But then you have great guests and you're like, "Oh, this is easy. I don't have to do anything. Nobody's bothered me for a while. I can see every single email, like every time a guest leaves, then you see, oh, Airbnb deposit. I'm like, this is fun. Money just comes to me. I love it. But I thought about what we would need to do in order to be a little bit more competitive and also be attracting better guests. One of the things would be new photography. We did have a professional photographer in, which I highly recommend. We didn't have the best photographer in. Also, don't go with the cheapest option. Done that before. Not great. Yep. Probably should have just invested another, I don't know, $150 or something. Would have gone a really long way. So we would need some new photography. And then potentially looking at adding a little bit of outdoor space to 2 of the units. They have almost like a little private patio. The basement, there's part of the area where it's unfinished. So it would be really easy to add in a gym space. Some people I know do like foosball tables and stuff. That would be fine too. But I always thought a gym would be interesting, or at least having like a couple of yoga mats and a little bit of some weights and a bike or something. Like, people want to have a little bit of fitness, and I think it's just something different that would stand out. And if we were going to be doing this, I would totally recommend a gym. I mean, I don't think it needs to be that fancy either. And also just go on Marketplace and get some stuff.
Yeah, we bought a bike that's probably needs to be sold on Marketplace soon. That's sitting there gathering dust.
Yes, get rid of it.
Yeah.
And then we would want to just add some accent walls or some wallpaper and probably some newer artwork that's not from Walmart. Yeah. So I don't think overall our cost would need to be that big, but big enough where my thought process was, this is going to be a longer term solution, or like, I need to think about this a couple years out. Where do I see my life in a couple of years? Because if we're going to be investing this money, a few $1,000s each into each unit, then our next year would break even. We would probably want to get a different cleaner. There's just some communication situations that maybe our processes and procedures could be a little bit more specific and also a little bit more open to feedback. But either way, we've worked with a couple other cleaners before, so I have a good idea of like, you give and you take, right? If this is managing a business, and it's managing like a 1099 employee, basically. And they are your eyes and ears. And I don't want to be here for the winter. So I need to think, how will I manage this efficiently while I'm not here? So I thought we'll basically break even next year if we put in this extra money. So then in 2 years is when we would start to reap the benefits of it. I need to continue to stay up to date on what Airbnb changes are happening. I need to stay up to date on like the decor and what guests are looking for. Is that something that I really want to do? So I like to check in with my intuition on situations like that and just like try on the ideas. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be making probably about like $13,000 less per year if I choose to go this route.
Yeah.
I'm like, oof. $13,000 is nice. Yeah. But so is the ability to disconnect a little bit more from my phone. I still, like I said, I still have one Airbnb. I'm a real estate agent, so I still have my phone a lot, but this will still like give me an extra layer of disconnect. So there's kind of like that trade-off I was dealing with. So I sat with my intuition and I'm like, what responsibilities are going to change? How do I want my life to look right now? How is this going to feel? How can I make $13,000 doing something else? Because now I'm going to have a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm. Probably a lot more time. And because what I find is when, like in my busy season of being a rental agent, like you just get those 5 minutes throw you off and it just like messes with your whole focus. So even though it was only 5 minutes, it might take you 25 minutes to get back to what you're doing. So yes. I feel like in a lot of ways you are going to get way more hours back than the actual time you took to answer people's questions on Airbnb because of the distraction it created.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited to find out what that really feels like too. Oh, and another thing is I did think about what if we had a property manager instead, but basically I can't remember how much it costs because usually it's like a percentage. Yeah. Usually about like 20% gross is what people charge. I'm like, that would eat away our profit anyway. So I might as well just do long-term renters.
Yeah. Great. And so you got 2 new long-term renters for the 2 bedrooms. And how much are you getting?
So one of them we are renting unfurnished. Oh man. $1,490, I think is what we're getting for it.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. She's buying a couple of the things. I'm going to be posting on like Minnesota Airbnb Facebook pages and different investor pages too, and try to sell some of the furniture so that we like be like, hey, you need to pick it up on X, Y, and Z date. please reserve it in advance. And it's other investors, so they kind of understand, what the situation is, and I think will be more reliable than just selling it straight up on Marketplace. We rented that one right away. And then after that, we thought, what are we doing? Why don't we try to rent these completely furnished? So we don't have to move out 4 units all at once and figure out where these are going. Is it really worth trying to sell your forks and knives and all the random stuff, towels that we have? Nobody's going to buy that, right? Yeah. But if you moved into a unit that's fully furnished, a lot of people would appreciate that.
Yeah.
And there's a market for that too. So our other 2-bedroom, that one is totally furnished. That one we are getting $1,650.
Nice.
Some 16 something.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Yeah. And then I anticipate that our 2-bedroom or 3 bedrooms, are going to be around $2,000 or so a piece. And this is everybody else paying for the utilities as well.
Right. That's great too. So between the peace of mind and making this, just a little bit less money per month, it's about $1,000 less per month, and having all this extra time, it's you can earn that $1,000 extra a month in a different way. And
we can put that towards our coaching business so that I have the ability to take on more clients, and not worry about being bothered while we're doing this podcast thinking, and my fiance's on vacation right now. So I'm it's solely on me to make sure I'm answering. Obviously my phone is off right now. Right.
Yeah.
So,
but you got to check as soon as we get off. You have to check and make sure.
Yep. And I was on it with a guest right before we got on too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just, it's so interesting. I think pivoting for your mental health is just something that needs to be talked about more. I had a situation today that reminded me of you. It's totally different, not real estate investing related, but my son did not like this camp that he was at, and he just hated life, cried every single day. And it pained me to let him out of the camp and lose that money that we had spent. Camps are not cheap. But he was so happy last night, and he was just the light and loving little boy that I know. And I was that is so worth every dollar that got wasted. You know what I mean? So I think that just needs to be talked about more when talking about investing, because not every investment is the right one for you, or it can just change in different moments of time. It worked for you before, and now you're getting older and you're getting tired of dealing with guests on a regular basis. You want a life that's more, that's less distracted. And this can help you get there.
I think you hit the nail on the head. That's such a great way to see it in perspective, because when I first started, my goal was to get out of my 9-to-5. So that's all I could think about. And I didn't really, obviously I knew about Airbnb, but I just didn't even think about that for myself. And felt like it was too far out of my wheelhouse. Obviously I had some limiting beliefs. So the only thing I thought about were long-term rentals. So I just did what I knew, even though that wasn't going to maybe be the fastest way to get me out of my 9-to-5. Then when we were switching over to the to Airbnbs, it was, my thought process was holy shit, I could just own a few of these and that will replace my 9-to-5 income. So my question was 9-to-5 versus Airbnbs. Airbnbs, I can be distracted at random moments. Fires come up at random times, but I'm not in a jail cell from 9-to-5. Whereas over here, there's a cap on my income. There's a cap on what I am allowed to do, and maybe not as being as creative and is very admin heavy. So I was great. The trade-off makes sense. I'll just own 5 Airbnbs. I know that there's going to be another fork in the road on how am I going to then pivot to not have so much time, so much work on my plate, and be able to be a little bit more free, but we'll deal with that later down the road, because my long-term goal, this still is just part of the journey and what makes sense.
I
So
think
then later I quit my W-2, and then now, yeah, I don't have one, but so that trade-off changed
mhm.
as far as like, I'm like, okay, I can make a little bit less but not have to be on my phone all the time with guests.
Yeah. And that's probably, it was the same trade-off for your 9 to 5. Like, I can make a little bit less, but I have time freedom. And now you're like, I can make a little bit less and have even more time freedom. but
Yeah.
also, but also it is a smart decision for you because you're going to be able to utilize that time to make more money. It's a little bit of an investment in
Yep.
yourself as well, because you know
Mm-hmm.
that you have ability to make more money in different ways in different businesses, and you have this
Mm-hmm.
commercial space that you're going to need to lease up. You want to focus on marketing it and getting it as many leases in there as you can, and that's going to help you more along the way
Yeah.
than dealing with fires all the time at Airbnbs.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to call them slingshot moments where it feels really scary and hard to kind of like pull back. I'm pulling back on that income. I'm going a little bit out of my comfort zone because it's this shift, it's this change, right? But like ultimately doing that like slingshot pulling back moment is only going to give me more momentum to move forward.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, so this is just the back because you're going forward.
Mhm. Yeah. But ultimately, I'm super excited, and we'll have to do a check-in in like October or in the fall or something like that. And,
And see how it's going.
I'll be sitting here on a beach. Just kidding.
Yeah. I really liked hearing your story because I've always wanted an Airbnb, and it sounds so sexy and it sounds like, oh my God,
Mhm.
I want the extra $500,000 a month. But then there are trade-offs. So, not saying that STRs aren't good for you and they might be amazing for someone else, but at the end of the day, what you and I want to tell you listeners is that you can do what works for you, and things can work for you at different times in your life. And one of my favorite things you said was checking in with your intuition and just checking in. Do I like this still? Do I want to do this? What do I want to be doing? And, when you first start investing in real estate, you have this certain idea, but you got to keep checking in with it. Is that still the vision you want for your future? Has it adjusted? And adjust with it. Don't just have this like, this was my dream, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to do it. I mean, even now I thought I'm only going to do multifamily, blah blah blah, and now I'm like, maybe I want to do storage units. I'm going to explore that a little bit and see if that's the route I
Mhm.
want to go, instead of having tenants, residential tenants, having a different kind of tenant.
Yep.
So it's okay to make changes, and I'm glad you shared your story so that others can reevaluate. So this is your opportunity, if you're listening, to just take a minute to reevaluate what are you liking in your life? What are you not liking? Is there anything in your life, in your business, that could use a little pivot, could use a little change, even if it means losing a little bit of money or whatever, losing a little bit of time, whatever it is it going to propel you forward to your next step? So thank you for sharing your story. And I'm excited to check in a few months and see what's changed in your life without your Airbnbs.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And yeah, any listeners that do take that time to kind of check in, let us know in the comments or shoot us a message. Let us know how you're pivoting and what changes that you want to make.
All right. Well, friends, stay rested, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, friends. That's the episode for today. We so appreciate you being here with us, and would love if you could leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts.
And don't forget to subscribe for future episodes, and check the show notes to sign up for the waitlist for our retreats and future coaching programs. Stay rested, friends, and talk soon.